Welcome back to Brothers in Boots. My name is Mike, and today there's a little bit of a different episode. I haven't been present in a lot of the podcast episodes recently just because I have been traveling a ton for work, and I do apologize for that. I'm hoping by the end of September things should normalize. We'll see kind of how that goes. There's a lot that's kind of up for debate and, timelines push, so on and so forth. Joys of project work. But today, I'm going to record something a little bit different, and I'm going to go over some of the stuff I've received recently. Some good, well, mostly all good, just a little bit of bad, but there will be some bad. And once I have this episode done, I will give it to Jeff and Chris, and maybe they'll react to it. Maybe they'll post it as standalone. I'm not sure yet, but wanted to get something out there that is somewhat related to what I'm doing, and it's kind of some stuff that I'm traveling with. You don't want to see me record in a hotel room, so just them's the ropes traveling. But so recently, if you've seen my Instagram, you know that I have gotten a number of higher end boots. Recently, I've got my Florite Shinky botines. I've got my custom craft Model 1s in Cobell green harness. But I want to talk about some of the other stuff that I've gotten recently too. A pair of Wescos, a pair of Franks that is a very special build that had been in the works for a while. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start with the Florite Shinky botines. These are in a leather that I provided. There is some of this leather left, so maybe she'll offer it as an offering. But this is a pair of botines. This particular pair is done in a style that has a goring that's supposed to meant to kind of represent a cowboy boot top. So it's a nice non-uniform, non-U-shaped style with a little bit of fancy stitching, some extra work done to it, and a very detailed and beautiful rolled or corded toe flower. Lots of extra details, 6 corded rows. This is done in Shinky oiled black horse rump. As you can see, this was a particularly beautiful hide that I got my hands on. Tons of what almost kind of looks like turtle skin. Very elegant single piece backstrap. Very deep cut heel. This is a style that she's been favoring recently. It's very balanced, works quite well. Beautiful fiddleback waist. As you can see, I have worn these. They have been in airports in 7 states so far. Dr. Soul's heel cap. Some intricate work done on the inside there. Lemon wood pegs covered in black ink. Kind of some little intricate work done as just kind of like a framing on the sole. Black edge. Her standard flat welt and seam hand welted. Beautiful waist. Overall, very well executed pair of boots. Looks great looking down on them. As you can see, kind of the inside that pattern goes all the way through. And then obviously those stitches are just for the goring covers. Beautiful pair of boots. Obviously it has a sister pair. I'll just wear one of them. Exact same specs. Beautiful chiseled toe. Nice and narrow. This bespoke style is the only way I can get a toe this narrow. And sometimes toes this narrow just look absolutely stunning. And this is definitely one of them. A little bit of detail here on the heel cap. Just it's not a fudging wheel, but it's a decoration wheel like a fudging wheel that puts a kind of wavy pattern in. Same stuff done here. Beautiful pair. The Shinky is quite thick. This stuff measured in right around 8 ounces. It was crimped, which you can just lightly see here in the reflection. This line right here, that's where the vamp was crimped, and that's to help take its shape. So little crimp, which is good. Veg tan holds everything quite well. This is one of the few pairs she's done that she did mention that the wet crimping probably wasn't as necessary. This probably could have just been dry crimped and it would have held its shape just fine. Holding up beautifully. I've actually done 2 12-hour shifts in these in the data center. Not my proudest moment. Didn't think I was going to be there that long. Both the days that we were there, it was supposed to be a quick cutover that night. Things went bad real fast, and instead of being there for a couple hours, we were there for 12. It happens. It's the way it goes. Like I said, beautiful pair. Style is very reminiscent of a Mexican bootine. It's a Cowboy Chelsea is really what it is. The boutine's what it's called. It's Cowboy Chelsea. Like I said, it's the only way I can have toes this narrow. This is artificially elongated to make it work, obviously. But yeah, just a stunning pair of boots. They fit beautifully on the feet. Lots of cowboy boot makers are very hesitant to use veg tan. There's a couple reasons as to why, but this pair turned out beautiful. I have no problems with it. The fit's perfect. Slides on and off real well, and like my ostrich, they're a little tight. And just overall is a dream to wear. Like I said, they do absolutely fantastic for hours on end. No issues at all. No real break-in. Once again, it's bespoke, so I don't expect a whole lot of break-in. But yeah, just an absolute stunning leather. Unlike a lot of boutines that have pull tabs, like personally, I'd prefer no pull tabs at all, but you kind of need something. I hesitate on this pair. I almost didn't have the pull tab added. I don't use it as much. I tend to grab here on the sides a little bit more, which I mean would only be nice if you're going to wear them with like shorts, which jury's out on that. Haven't tried it yet. Don't think I probably will. But beautiful style, elegant pair of boots, could be worn all day. Like I said, I've used them as work boots. Wouldn't recommend it. Like this one, the leather's too expensive and rare, and number two, these are bespoke boots, so they do come with a fairly hefty price range. The inspirations of this boot came from a test pair she did on my first set, and she incorporated kind of like a fluffy, very feminine, rounded, kind of what looked to be the cowboy boot collar. If you don't know what a cowboy boot collar is, it's the piece on the top of the shaft that inverts down before the fancy stitching. And so I picked through a bunch of references that I found of cowboy boot collars, circled the ones that I liked. Most of them have fleur-de-lis in them. I hate the fleur-de-lis. It's just not my style. So this was kind of the compromise to work around one of those sharper, more masculine styles, but no fleur-de-lis. Overall works well, goes great with a pair of slacks, goes great with a pair of pants. I mean, it's black, so it doesn't work with 100% everything, but I mean, darker color pants, great. Anything besides maybe like very, very light browns, tans, whites, it'll work great with. Olive, blues, dark browns, blacks, it'll all go good with from that perspective. Things I would have done differently on this pair, not much really. I think maybe I would have considered doing a natural edge, not doing a black edge. While I think it fits the boot real well and it does give it a more formal look, I do find that even though Florite does a very good job on this leather one and gets it very smooth and it's very elegant looking, I do find that the black edge does kind of give it a slight air of cheapness, kind of makes it seem a little more plasticky than it is. Some of that's the bakers, smooths out something absolutely fierce. And we'll talk more about bakers leather here in a little bit, but overall, the style is great. Love pretty much everything about them. I like the tokenol natural edge of my ostrich pair just a little bit more. And I do think this pair could have maybe benefited from a smidge of contrast or maybe, on the toe flower doing something in a slightly different color, maybe not a white that would, really pop, but something a little bit, with at least some contrast. But overall, short of, potentially that natural edge, I wouldn't change anything else about this pair. They are, even though they're 8 ounce, they are lined. It is a cowboy boot. At the end of the day, there's a couple reasons why they want to do that. A lot of it's to also protect the goring as well. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's shinky. It's hard. It's not an easy. It's an easy break-in because it's bespoke. But anyone that's owned Shinky knows that it starts tough. It likes to push in areas. It's not exactly the. It's not a stead suede or basically any of the much softer stead leathers that are almost sneaker quality, like right off. Well, I don't mean sneakers in terms of bad. I mean sneakers in terms of comfortable. Right off the hop, this is definitely stiffer than that, but it is still quite nice. And if you mold and set baker's leather real well, it's some of the most comfortable insole leather that exists out there, to be entirely honest, besides maybe Gerberry Martin or Grudenberg. This is the most expensive stuff, hands down. Most cowboy boot makers use it, so good stuff. Like I said, not much I'd change about it. Absolutely in love with this pair. She knocked this one out of the park. sent it to the moon and on its journey to Mars. Maybe someone can ask Daddy Elon to figure out how she gets there so easy so he can get his Mars expeditions going here sooner. But overall, great pair. I love them. Like, so this is a leather I provided. As you can see from the goring covers, it is quite thick. This is not thin stuff. Focus, you fucker. It doesn't really want to, but as you can see, it's very thick stuff. This is, right around 8 ounces. Might even be 8.5 in some areas, but very thick stuff. Obviously, some pieces were skived down more so than others. You can definitely tell right here, this kind of elegant edge right here, that, the thinness of it leads to, obviously, she skived a ton of areas where stitches overlap, but started as quite thick stuff. And keep on the lookout. That might be available for a couple pairs through her here in a couple months. But overall, great pair. Love them. Wouldn't change a thing. Definitely my favorite pair from her so far, hands down, and probably in my top 3 pairs of boots that I currently have. Kudos all around on that particular pair. Next, I have, we'll keep the baker's train going, a very special pair of Frank's monkey boots. Now, this is not quite as bright in real life as the camera makes it, but it is definitely a very red pair of Crazy Cow Samba, or Crazy Cow Red. This is a monkey boot. It is in the P&W, lace to toe monkey style, where instead of the monkey, laying down flat and going to the edges, it is a lace to toe pattern. So there is stitching in front of it. It's just their style. It makes sense in their manufacturing process. Rolled top, very soft, pliable leather. This one does have a heavier wax finish, so it does give the feel of stiffness, but it's super soft. You could wear this all day. This is unique because this, if you notice, the midsole heel stack is quite a bit darker than you'd normally see, and that is because this is baker's leather that I made myself. So if you look up here in the background where my finger is, you'll see those are some templates from Frank's, and what those are is templates they sent me to make these. So I made these heel stacks, cut out these midsoles, and on the inside, I don't know if I can get that to do, I don't know if I'll be able to get enough light in there to do this. You can kind of see, it's not really coming across at all, but it's also a baker's insole for the footbed in here as well. So the footbed's baker's, midsole's baker's, heel stack's baker's. Like I said, quite thick stuff. This stuff came in right around between 14 and 18 ounce, depending on the piece. It was very thick, so I cut the insoles, I cut the midsoles, I glued the heel stacks together and made extra pieces for the leveling of the half sole. It is on a Dr. Scholl's. This is black cork half sole. As you can see there, it not leveled in the traditional sense. They smashed it down and desanded from the top. That's why the layers look odd, and it's because I made it. I didn't put the cup in it. I figured that would be easier to do on an actual drum sander that they have, so I just made the stacks themselves and glued them. This is leather that I provided the Crazy Cow as well. So I think in this boot, except for the black, is this the kangaroo liner I provided? This might be the kangaroo liner I provided. I might have provided everything in the boot, in this particular boot, besides the thread and eyelets. Actually, thread, eyelets, and speed hooks, and welt thread. I can't remember if this got the kangaroo liner I provided or not, but this boot, besides the tongue leather and the rolled top, might be 100% provided by me. So, very interesting leather. I have another roll of Crazy Cow in the closet that I will use at some point. It's a green color called Couple. But overall, really like the stuff. It's super casual focused. I don't know if I would work in this, to be 100% honest. As you can see right here in the toe, as that wax starts kind of lifting up, it does get kind of fuzzy and dark in a weird way. This is a wax suede. It is a suede, an actual suede. It's not a waxed rough out. It's a wax suede. But yeah, it's unique because, like I said, I provided almost all the leather in this, including making some of the parts myself, which is super cool and unique. That probably will not be something I really ever get to do again. So that's a very unique aspect of this pair. I've worn them a couple times now. Not much outside. Just because they're new, and they're, I have a decent list of stuff to break in currently still. But yeah, like I said, they turned out great. This is one of my favorite pairs, and honestly, this Baker's is just heaven on your feet. I really wish they would stock this regularly. Now, this pair did do some damage to the Rapid E machine, so they won't do this again. This will never happen again. This is a one-off. It broke, I think, 2 needles in an awl, and it's just because the Baker's is so dense that it work hardens while it's happening. And as it's work hardening while it's happening, you get stuck with it eventually getting brittle. And it caused an awl, and I think 2 needles to snap is what I was told. So from that perspective, it's kind of one of those one-offs that'll never happen again. But, it's cool that it happened once, and I love them. Like I said, I do have some midsoles, heel stacks, and insoles left. I don't think they'll use the heel stacks probably, but I can use what's left as insoles. So I could potentially still have Bakers in a couple pairs for just the insole, just not the midsole and heel stack layer. So yeah, got some guarded goods, red. I don't remember what exact color this is from there, but it's guarded goods. I'm assuming one of the Illum tanned or chrome tanned laces and some kind of blood red color. And these are Dale's Leatherworks Fire Red Merriam horse rump kilties that I've made some heavy adjustments to kind of fit in here. The monkey, the front closest eyelet on the quarters or the uppers, depending on if you're like a Cordwainer or P&W guy, come together enough that there's a heavy amount of trimming that's done to get this kiltie to sit in here flat. Like, not only do I have to take about 1 inch off the edge, I do have to take about 1/2 inch off each side for it to set flat in here. If I can maybe easily, no, I probably can't easily pull that forward. I can grab one later that I've modified for a monkey, but these do take a little extra modification. Otherwise, this is really nasty, causes like some weird bumps here on these edges and whatnot. So you do have to trim these down for the monkeys, which is understandable. It's basically a lace to toe with 2 extra eyelets, right? It's a normal lace to toe. Well, I mean, I'm a short boot, so there's only one extra one, because normal one would have 3, right? So you'd have 1, 2, 3, and then you'd have your 3 and 1, right? So you got 1, 2, 3, and then 4. That'd be a regular boot, which I do not have a regular Frank sitting here to show. So this one right here would be your lace to toe, and then this one's your monkey, essentially. That's basically all they're doing with the pattern. This is in the dress patches, which just means it's a nice, sleek, flat patch, instead of the one that over here on this side would come up. Oh, come like up right here, down, and around. I just don't particularly care for the work patch, but I think I've seen a couple like custom ones people have had where they've sent in like a general shape. They could basically do anything there. I think I saw one that had kind of like a horned tip to it or something like that. It's neat. Double row stitch on stitch down. Never asked, not sure if you could do Norwegian roll welt on these or not. This might have been a cool pair to do Norwegian roll welt, but to be fair, I'm not a massive fan of the roll welt. I just prefer regular L-shaped Norwegian or flat welt personally. But I do have a couple things in the roll welt. Mostly, I think 2 pairs of White's Bounty Hunters. But like I said, overall, cool pair. And very unique in the fact that it's the only one that'll probably ever be made from Frank's that's full Bakers through all of its oak bark tan layers, which is from England. Expensive stuff, but absolutely fantastic stuff. Oh, I'm going to save the cool pair for last. So let's go through the problem pair. So this one, this is a pair I really want to love, but it's hard. So I'm going to show the good one first. All right. So this is my custom Wesco Boss with triple stitching and a bunch of stuff to kind of make it look more like a Mr. Lou, but this is on their Boss last. This is an oil tanned Latigo. They do not like oil tanned Latigo, and there's a couple reasons as to why. So this boot looks quite good. I've got copper buckles, the regular length straps. You'll kind of see what looks a little bit like an oil stain here. It shows up a lot on the camera. You don't see it a lot in person, but there is definitely an oil stain here. I don't know if that's from like the outsole stitcher or just a bad piece of leather, but there is a stain here. But overall, stitching is very good. It's another oil stain right there. It's Wesco's natural, which, basically just comes sanded with no wax. So I have dressed and done the edges myself. They are not going to come this shiny or this dressed. I sand them extra and apply a couple different layers of different stuff. This one is pure polish in their cream, and then in their high gloss, and then I'll hit it with just a little bit of Saphir Pat Deluxe to really bring the shine out. On other pairs, because this is basically on pair of shit kickers, more or less. On other pairs, if they're more fancy, I'll start with Saphir Natural Cream, then do a little bit of Tokonol and burnish it with Tokonol, and then I'll do the mirror gloss, and then do Pat Deluxe over the top of it, which gives like a really deep, rugged look, and that Tokonol finish is significantly better than anything any of the P&W manufacturers do in terms of like water resistance, not bleeding everywhere, getting like kind of white powdery look to it. The Tokonol finish is the way to go, and then waxing over the top of it. But this boot is fairly normal. Besides the oil stain here and the oil stain here, this boot turned out quite well. It's the Wesco's proprietary half sole from Dr. Soul's. It's Dr. Soul's with the Wesco logo. And the regular way they do this, I went ahead and waxed this up down here real well. This also comes completely natural. They also install the midsole upside down, so the fuzzy part's on the bottom, which is a little different from everybody else does it. But it is their style in their regular Boss Last, which if I remember right, it's like the 9338 or something like that. As I said, this is a pair of shit kickers, and now you're about to see why. That was the right boot. Here's the left boot. And the first thing you're going to notice is a very nasty clicked vamp. These have not been worn, really, and they've not been worn outside. That is a very nasty, nasty vamp piece. It's got a kind of like a ribbing to it. There's terrible loose grain. There's a couple creases. This has got to be like in the skirt area, getting close to the belly. Not a vamp piece by any stretch of the imagination. Upper looks fine, but the first thing you're going to notice is this really, really nasty oil stain here. I'm assuming this has to be from the outsole stitcher. This one is super visible on camera, and unlike the other one I was showing you, this one is super visible in real life. You will not miss this one. This is very easily seen with the eye without the extra light. Super duper noticeable. You'll see there's more oil stain right here in the heel counter cover. A little bit more there on the back. I'm assuming this has to be from the stitcher or something. You'll see a second oil stain here in the heel counter cover, and then you'll see a really nasty oil stain on the other side. Now, the two on this boot, I assume, especially the ones you can see real well, as you can see there over here, right there, there is a kind of like oil stain or wet spot. I'm assuming that's from the lasting process. Maybe it got a little wet. But these right here on this side and right there on that side are straight up oil stains. And I'm assuming based on where they are and they terminate, it has to be from the Landis or Rapide that they're using to do the outsole stitcher. These boots happen to fit perfect. It's the only reason they didn't go back to be rebuilt. I waited a month and a half short of 2 years on these when they were originally quoted at 11 months. Nothing bakers can do about that. And I got these. I noticed the nasty vamp and the oil stains on this left boot immediately. Didn't even put them on my feet before I called bakers and talked to them about it. Went ahead and put them on. They fit. This is a custom fit. This is their special custom fit packet that you got to pay the $150 for. They do fit absolutely perfect. Only reason they didn't go back. They've become a pair of shit kickers. I will wear these at work boots and rain and treat these like absolute shit and not care a thing about them. And luckily Baker was able to cut a deal with me and get me $350 back on these, because these weren't cheap in the custom config. It's before the last price increase, but they still These were still close to $900. And this is fucking pathetic for $900 boots. Like, I wouldn't even call these seconds. These are rating in the thirds. And if they didn't fit so well, and I didn't trust the fact that the next pair is potentially come not fitting at all, wouldn't have kept them. And the only excuse that I got, well, I shouldn't even say excuse, the only reason given is that they hate working with oiled Latigo or oiled Latigo. It's just not something I like working with. Cool. Doesn't excuse the nasty crimping and the oil stains. I don't care how much you hate working with it. This shit's just not acceptable in really any way, shape, or form. There's no way to be positive or sugarcoat that short of the fact is they fit really well. And guess what? When I don't want to get other shit wet, nasty, disgusting, dirty, muddy, these guys will get disgusting, nasty, wet, muddy. Need to put fertilizer on the grass? Guess which pair is going to get the fertilizer on it? This pair. And then I'll probably cut my losses there. I do have one other pair of Wescos that I was not able to get canceled in time. It's some blue oiled Shinky horse rump that I sent, a very beautiful hide that's the sister hide to the black boutonnes that I showed. Fortunately, that the pair had already been clicked out and everything, so I couldn't get that canceled and get my leather back. So that pair, since I've already paid the custom fee, was significantly cheaper at only $650. And I also didn't do some of the triple stitching and stuff that I did here that I don't 100% know is necessary. This was kind of meant to be like a Mr. Lose, since I think these are technically 6.5 double E with buildups. So if they had a 6.5 triple E with buildups in a couple spots, mainly in the instep area. So if I could just do like a straight 6.5 triple E, which is the size they have, I guess it probably wouldn't be so bad. But these were made to look like Mr. Lose. Mr. Lose obviously only coming a D and an E width on that specific last, that specific toe. As you can tell, it does not have a Mr. Lou toe. Like, this is a significantly bigger toe. This was kind of my attempt to make a Mr. Lou that I could wear. Not something I would go out of my way to do anymore, to be 100% honest. Upper leather isn't terrible. Like I said, it's got its share of like little blemishes, and like here's a kind of nasty fat line right here. It's a little more fat line. It's really a crease, but it's just some loose grain. It's not horrible, but it's definitely not great. I once again, I wouldn't buy again. Whatever business I have is done. Once I am done with this pair, as you can see, the uppers in this pair do have some loose, nasty grain here too. Once again, if this was like a $200 to $500 pair, and this was like treated as a pair of factory seconds, it would be one thing. But these weren't treated as factory seconds. I do not think anything that Baker's gave back to me on this one came from Wesco. I think it was all Baker's taking care of me from that perspective. So I am not the only person that has had issues with Wesco recently. But I will say Kyle did send me pictures of some of the other Mr. Lou's in this custom ones that they did these coming through, and none of the rest of them had problems like mine did. So I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I wasn't willing to risk taking the shot again. And unfortunately, that's my negative one. I don't know, man. That's pretty bad. Seeing is believing. I don't know how that left the factory. That one, for whatever reason, did not go to Baker's. It shipped from Wesco directly to me. I have no idea why, but it did. And like I said, I texted the pictures to Kyle. Kyle saw immediately. His opinion was the same as mine. I was like, wow, that sucks. That should have never left. But like I said, they do fit perfectly. I will take that win where I can get it, and they're a pair of shit kickers now. I won't do my usual thing where I take pictures of them at different angles and post them on Instagram, because they honestly aren't worthy of that. There's no reason, and I'm not. That Instagram is kind of meant for me to be able to like document and have pictures of stuff. So when anyone asks me for a leather reference, I have an easy way to provide those pictures, and it's kind of a cool way for me to do my little museum archive keeping. That pair just does not deserve a spot, unfortunately, and it never will. Maybe the blue Shinky oil pair might. We'll see. Their last is a little bit different. It's a flatter last. There's no arch support. They operate off a very different style. I mean, the foot balance is good. The last fits perfectly. I don't have any complaints with how they fit or how they feel on my feet. all my complaints are aesthetic and, shit that should not have happened in manufacturing. Like I said, I got enough back that I was, willing to keep them. So here we are. I mean, it was more than $300, just to give an idea. It wasn't a small amount. It was a good chunk of it back. It was in the 30% range. So it was enough for me to push through, keep going, and, cut my losses at that point. Not everything in the boot world goes the way we expect. Sometimes things are, roll with the punches, blessing in disguise, whatever you want to use it. Throw your random wives' tale cliche that you've known your whole life, especially those of us Midwest. We live off religious tales and cliches and old sayings. They're not falling apart. I didn't get 2 left boots. I didn't get the last in the wrong foot, so that the left foot had the right last and the right foot had the left last, or some of the other horror stories you see out of some of the PNWs. Didn't deal with any of that. Didn't have any. I had a pair that I had to send back this year for a refund. That not only did they get edge stain all over the side of one of them, just missing the edge altogether, they also hit it with the belt sander in 2 spots. The vamp with the belt sander in 2 spots. So it's not the worst pair I've received this year, but oof, it's not a good pair either. So, and that particular pair that got hit with the belt sander had to be rebuilt like 3 times too. That was a mess. They had 2 failed quality controls. I had to call and remind them to put them into production, and on top of it, they, when I got them, the heels were messed up. Should have sent them somewhere else to get them fixed. Gave them the opportunity to fix their mistake, and they decided that, oh, we haven't messed up enough, so let's put some edge dressing and hit it with the belt sander a couple times. That'll help it out. Needless to say. Alrighty, now to fun, positive stuff. Sorry, that was a bit of a Debbie Downer portion of the video, but while I do believe in trying to be as positive in these as possible and not do relentless amounts of shit talking or, just drag stuff through the mud, there are actions that deserve those things, and I'm not going to gloss over them or just kind of push them out of my mind or leave them be just because I'm trying to make nice, happy, fun videos. Sometimes we do have to look at the bad. Sometimes we do have to see the things that don't work in our favor, or, guess what? Shit happened, cut our losses, try to sell them, you can send them back for refund, whatever you want to do. Different brands are different. Everybody handles it differently. How we handle what we can control is what defines who we are as a person and how we handle adversity. And handling adversity is the key. So I could get mad. I could stomp on the internet. I could make a bunch of bad reviews. I could go complain on forums or Reddit. I'm not going to do any of that. But I am going to call a spade, and I'm going to be honest with everybody here. Of, like I said, the couple pairs I've gotten recently, that's one that sticks out badly. The other pair that was hit with the belt sander and had edge dressing on the side of it might still be sitting on the website. It's in the second section on Nix. It was a pair of Station Masters and Wicket and Craig double stuffed. Took a year to get that pair. Forgot to put it in production. Had to remind them. Pair had bad QC problems. Sent me pictures of it. It's like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. One was literally 3/4 of an inch shorter than the other boot. 12 weeks later, called them, hadn't made it into production again. Got into production. This is like late November. Get them in January. They, the heels are off. Like one is literally half an inch taller than the other in the heel stack. It's absolutely nuts. How that isn't caught, I have no idea. They even send you a little checklist that tells you who did the QC on it. So I know which initials failed that. Sent them back to get it fixed. Like, oh, it's only be a 2-week thing. They had them for 6 weeks. Got them back with 2 big old edge dressing stains and being hit with one boot got hit in the upper twice. The vamp on one and the heel counter on the other with the belt sander. Not paying attention to what they were doing. So, all right, on to fun, interesting stuff. I actually just got these today. They come from Germany, and this is a pair of Custom Craft. This is Dennis. Dennis is a fantastic up-and-coming maker. Very enthusiastic. Very nice guy to talk to. A little bit of a language barrier. He is German. And this is in Cobel Lidar green pull-up harness. So this is it is green. And if I give it a nice big oofies here. You'll see there is some pull up to it, but it has got a very dense wax layer. It is not 100% struck through, but it is mostly dyed through. It is green. I'm not going to scratch it to kind of display some of the green. This is in yellow stitching. This is his version of a Cuban heel, which is probably a little closer to a blogger, or a let's call it a dress woodsman, which is a spoon bevel edge heel. Gabbard from Creosote uses a lot of heels that are in this very similar style. It's in his shiny natural edge finish. This is Dr. Soul's half soles that I provided. The waist area, that is not a blind stitch, but it is close to a blind stitch where he makes an extra deep channel and pushes the edges together so you don't see the stitching. Very cool. Uses some very dainty nails on the Dr. Souls, but overall great job. The interior of the breast is done quite well on the heel. It's very smooth to the touch. Details are quite nice. He does a lot of the stitching on these boots by hand, not just like the areas like this part sorry, this is inverted for me. This area right here, where this is a much thicker thread holding the vamp down. A lot of the upper itself, you can go see his reels on Instagram. He does the outside line. This one right here, this is done by hand. And like I said, the fact that he keeps up with the consistency of the sewing machine is kind of insane. But yeah, overall the stitching in this boot is very good. His patterns are getting very well balanced. They used to be kind of back heavy versus front heavy, and they're getting a lot more balanced now. The heel counter is coming in a lot more. It's not going as far forward. Probably needs to come down a smidge more, and this is in golden ratio, but it's got the gold, the minor on the backstay and the major on the heel counter cover. This is a clipped boot, so it does have a very narrow European style clip that holds your Achilles in place. Personally, I would like to see this be the minor and this be the major. I think that's aesthetically more pleasing. But I could also see why someone kind of likes the heritage workwear look of this. I am a big fan of how he does his vamps, because when you see them down from the top, he leaves a little bit of extra tip right here as he brings it out. Almost kind of flutes it a little bit forward and give it kind of a sharp point. And it's nice because when you're looking down on it, it looks a little different than your regular boot. You don't have to look at the same old like rounded off normalized edge. It kind of gives you a little flair that you can see yourself from above, which I do think is quite cool. It's a nice touch. It's a rolled top. It is antique hardware, even though it's a little more brass leaning for antique, but still antique hardware. It is the much nicer eyelets that the P&Ws use that are a lot beefier, not that kind of pop metal shit that bends when it gets caught on stuff. Big fan. I like the larger eyelets he uses. He uses the bigger, larger eyelets. Not sure I'm over the moon about the laces. These are cotton laces he sent. They're wax cotton. They're very high quality. But I have a pair down here. So I bumped my mic a whole bunch. Grabbing something that is just a little too far to reach. Readjust that. Of green, I think it's olive actually. These are, what are these? Guarded Goods. Chrome tanned laces in green. So this is kind of my thought of maybe switching over to these guys. I think it's got a good look. I wish he had kind of like a hunter green pair that matched the same way the cotton laces do, but like this is kind of in the back of my mind is something I might switch to. For right now, I'm going to give the green a shot. Like I said, I've never been a huge fan of these kind of laces, but I figured I'd give them a shot because I think they are very good matching lace and they are very high quality. I would line these up with like a Generation lace or a Pisca in terms of quality and like, you know, the paracord lace world. Very good. Like I said, I love the yellow contrast stitching. Very, very elegant feather line. Like the feather line to the edge of the boot and that nice 2mm gap transitions is stunning. Like from above, you can barely see the feather line, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, we've gotten used to a lot of these brands doing these kind of, you know, workwear super chunk boys, which is fine and all, but this is very elegant, very lovely. Like this is kind of what you should see from above. It is a very elegant style. I'm not 100% positive if this is a true toe cap. It is kind of bulbous like one, but I think I saw in some of his stories while he was building this pair The underside of him doing the leather toe puff, and I think this might be skived and sewn. Not 100% positive on that. For this pair, not a huge deal to me. This cobalt leather is new to me. It's thick stuff. As you can see, it's right around 7 ounces. So it's in that kind of P&W thickness, and is a very, like, the tongue skived down, but it is a very stiff leather. Like it's got some stiffness to it. So it is a stiffer leather, which I knew getting into. I wanted to try Cobalt out. I have another pair coming from him in their kind of grained russet harness, which is a lot like an oiled latigo, and between like a tan and a chestnut. So we'll see how that is compared to this. But like I said, it is some stiff stuff, which I have personally no problems with, but I do want to call that out because some people aren't a fan of that. I 100% get why people sometimes are interested in the Chrome XLs, the Dublins. The CF Stead stuff is really popular for casual stuff. The Koodoos, the Ramblers, the waxy Mohawks, because they break in super easy. They're super soft right off the get-go. They're not everyone needs like the most over-the-top overbuilt boot ever. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me personally, but it does bother a lot of people. Like I said, his Model 1, this normally comes with the brogued toe cap. I just personally don't like broguing, so I had him do a workwear style toe cap with the Model 1. This is, an elegant higher arch last. This is feels very similar to like a 55. It's not quite exactly the same because it is steel shank, not leather shank, but it is very similar. It is hand outsole stitched. This is not done with machine. This is a hand stitch. And it is carved out of Gaberry Martin oak bark tan leather. I don't know which line he uses. Gaberry Martin has quite a few lines. From the pictures, it looks like it's the stuff made in Grudenberg. Not with the Black Forest logo, with the leaf, the green Grudenberg logo. And I think the midsole might be the one that has the golden triangle. But once again, they have a lot of logos, a lot of different styles. Gaberry Martin's been around like 300, 400 years. They're a very old tannery. They have quite a few lines. But it is good stuff. Did a great job sanding the edges down. I have buffed them and added a little bit of product to kind of bring the shine up, but they came quite shiny right off the hop. Very similar to kind of the way Godo-san from White Cloud does his. I think Godo might do a little more mirror than this, but this is about as mirror as I like. So this is definitely good enough. But overall, it's a fantastic, but they fit very well. It is done in a very German style where they do about an inch in front of your toe instead of 5/8 to 3/4, which is kind of how we do stuff in American boots. The P&Ws, it's an adult thumb in front. So it's going to be a little bit more than an adult thumb, but the arch is in the correct spot, and it is very Cordwainer in style in terms of the extra length. He's not the only person that does the inch to a little bit more in front of the toe. That is very popular in people that are from a more Cordwainer based tradition. Overall, it's a fantastic pair of boots, very well executed, especially for the price. I don't know what his prices are running, but I think these were between $1,000 and $1,100. That's what I paid for these. But I've been waiting about a year on these, so for the price, they're stunning, because that's by the time you add some customizations to get a custom fit in a pair of P&Ws these days, for the couple brands that'll still do it, you're at $1,000. So I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer from that perspective. He does do, I don't know if I can show this or not. He does his own kind of custom insole. I had it glued in. You do not have to get it glued in, but he does his own custom insole that's a 2-layer stitch together. It's fantastic. High quality. Doesn't feel like it's padded, but it definitely is a softer leather. Maybe a goat. It doesn't feel porous like goat, though. It might be lamb, because it's smooth. So maybe it's lamb or sheep. It's not goat, but it is definitely a softer leather, not porous. So that's cool. It does come out. I had it glued in. You don't have to have it glued in, but it could be taken out if it needed to be. Don't know why you need to, but yeah. I mean, overall, like I said, very well done. Hard to find many flaws in this. So the Cobell is stiff. That might be a turnoff to some, but he does have a bunch of other options. He does Merriam, he does Horween. If you can get him leather, I'm sure he'd be more than willing to use it. But overall, very happy with the pair. Very happy with my spec choices. So the rolled top is a nice touch. It's a very thick, kind of beefy rolled top, which is a little different. As you can see, it's got an extra roll in it that a lot of guys don't normally do. Probably just a cordwainer specific style. So overall, the stitching is fantastic. Showed you a lot of the right boot. Maybe I should show you some of the left boot, huh? Might be nice, Mike. Kind of same thing. Very similar in the style. Same deal with the level of struck through. I said very elegant clip. Stitching, same level of consistency across both boots. Spacing's very similar. Overall, very impressed. Especially the much nicer hooks and eyes. I really wish the Indonesians would use the much higher quality hooks and eyes. They're not that much more expensive, and they're just significantly better in the long run. It's not even close how much better they are. This pair is a little unique in the fact that this is the first time, on his 68 last. So you can see it's a little bit more anatomical shaped toe. This is on his 68 last. And this is the first time he's done hand welted on a 68 last. Usually his 68 last is done and stitched down. He does a very elegant style of welt as well. As you can see, there is no welt transition. And that is because the transition is on the inside. Right there. As you can see. So this natural, it's fairly easy to see. It's a pretty good welt transition. It's got a little flap right there that your finger could catch, so it could be flattened down a smidge more, but it's a very good welt transition. So just a single internal welt transition, which is quite nice. Which means even though the outsole stitch isn't 360, the inseam stitch is 360 for the actual welt. So overall, a very good, I shouldn't even say good, a great execution on a pair of boots. Like I said, they fit. The width is dead on. The width's perfect. Like I said, it is cordwainer style, so they do feel a smidge long on my feet, but that's intended. It is correct. And the arch is perfectly placed. But overall, yeah, man, they're fucking super happy with this pair. Balanced well, fit good on the feet. You know, I don't know what his wait list is looking like right now, but I know he's, within 2 months or so of his scheduled wait times, so he's pretty on track. And overall, it came out well. I mean, like I said, it's not overbearing with stitches. It's elegant stitches where they need to be, not doubling or tripling up on layers. A lot of brands do these styles, which I don't want to sit here and pick on Frank's, but in this monkey here, as you can see, it's all triple stitched everywhere, and on a lot of boots in that quarter or uppers to vamp transition, they do 4 stitches for a lot of the brands, which is just kind of unnecessary. There's a reason they do it for, like, the workwear perspective, but I feel like in a lot of these builds, if it's a kind of casual leaning leather, maybe an exception should be made there and some adjustments should be done. But, not my business. I'm not going to tell them how to run it. Just kind of my personal opinion on it. But yeah, overall, super impressed with this pair. Like I said, they're about, I think I was like 10 months on these, 10-month wait, maybe a year. Nothing egregious, nothing over the top. I mean, a little bit longer than your average P&W, but when you compare it to other made-to-measure people, I mean, the Flora times are a little bit shorter, but she keeps her books smaller on purpose. But I mean, like, they're about half the weight of a roll club and about a quarter of the weight of a creosote. I mean, if I compared these to my roll clubs, these are very similar. I would compare the quality of these is very, very similar to my roll clubs, which I have sitting right there, but I don't want to grab them because those have like 900 hours of wear on them, and I don't think it's a fair comparison to a pair of boots that's barely got 5 on them, because you're just going to see a bunch of flaws that shows now from stains and cuts and actually wearing them, versus this, which is still kind of its most pristine form. So I don't think it's a very fair comparison from that perspective. So I'm not going to do that. But Nah, you know what? Why the fuck not? Not a huge deal. Miss Finner. Sorry, Husky's sitting behind me. Trying to make sure I don't roll her over with my chair. Here's my roll clubs here. These are my roll club underdogs. Like I said, these have been worn quite a bit. As you can tell by the uppers and stuff, like they have wear. I didn't grab the one that's got the cut on the toe cap, but my German Shepherd did slice one of my toe caps right here on the toe real bad. But I mean, this has got quite a bit of wear. Yeah, I've been really busting out these edges really bad. I don't know if that's catching on something in the data center or what, but I've really kind of mangled the back of that heel from that perspective. But I mean, very similar. The transitions match. So you can see the transition right there on the interior. You can see the outside transition's a little bit more obvious than the storm welt. I would never do a storm welt again. I personally, I'd never had one before this pair. This isn't Brian's fault in any stretch of the imagination, but storm welt looks like shit. I absolutely hate everything about it. If this ever needs to be welted at any point in time, I can guarantee you a storm welt will not be what's going on it. 100%. Not that will not be happening again. But I mean, Brian's got impeccable stitching as well. Toe caps are in a slightly, this is the left boot. So left boot to left boot. As you can tell, the toe caps are a slightly different style. I think I prefer the 3-row a little bit more than the 4-row, but that was an option that you could have chosen this, and I did at the time choose 4-row. I think I ordered these in February of 2020, and I received them in April of 23, if I remember right. Sounds right in my mind. I mean, I did do the natural edge, which is nice. It's the only Dr. Souls that we seem to be able to find or get that has that natural. But yeah, like I said, I wear them. They have done time in the data center. You can see where I've got a nasty indention from lifting cabinet doors and using my toe cap as a pivot point to rest on. This Horsehide Chrome XL dents super easily, but it is what it is. So I wear the boots. They get worn. They get, their stuff. Brian uses a little bit more Frank's like tongue leather. I don't know what this leather is, but it's definitely a softer chrome tan, much more pliable tongue leather. It's very similar to the stuff that comes default on a pair of Frank's or Nick's or, well, not White's. White's uses matching leather, but yeah. Like I said, so the quality is very similar. I think, 2020. I think I paid $1,300 for these in 2020. They were like $1,200 or $1,300. These are not $1,200 or $1,300 now. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but I think they're closer to like $1,800, $1,900, maybe even more if you do like the Merriam stuff. That might be in like the $2,200 range. But these are definitely these days almost twice the price of these. So, but I mean, you're also paying for Roll Club, you're paying for America, you're paying for Brian being a more known maker than Dennis. But overall, I say they're very, very comparable to my Roll Club underdogs. I mean, the Roll Club underdog is in and of itself a very very close matching model. And here's this one doesn't quite utilize the clip in the same way, but this is what I was talking about earlier, where I kind of prefer this being the minor and this being the major in terms of length. Like if it could be, the pattern could be made the other way. As you can see, I definitely like the lower toe cap more than the higher toe cap. But I mean, that's there's not much I would change on this custom craft pair, to be 100% honest. Like I said, just some personal preferences of mine, which no maker should really ever be making changes for one person's personal reference or personal preference. Sorry. They should be doing what makes sense in their style and what they've designed the boot to be like and what it's supposed to look like. This is just, Mike talking about his fancy things and his first world problems. So, but yeah, them's the new boots in the collection. This is basically everything I've received except for my blue Palisades from Frank's in 2024. I know it's not a lot for 24, but I'm kind of down to my boots that are long-term wait stuff that I've ordered. Like I know a lot of my creosotes will start coming this year, and I think my first pair was right at the almost 3-year mark when I ordered the Parlor Ska spray guns. I think they were like 33 months when I ordered that. That's my first pair. So that is coming up here soon. So I will have those to be able to compare against. From what I've seen in person, what I've seen of Gabbard's work and actually seeing the boots made there, I'm expecting that pair to blow a lot of these away. I can tell you for an absolute fact, it's definitely going to blow. So I grabbed the better of the two boots. It's definitely going to blow this shit away. That is absolutely for certain. Ink stain mania here. Fucking get this guy a WWE World Championship for ink stains. Or sorry, oil stains. They're not ink. But yeah. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I will see all of you, I want to say in the next one, but keep a weather eye out. I'll either be in videos or I won't till sometime around the end of September. So hopefully you get to see me in something. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.